Let's start with another massive update in the Kawhi Leonard storyline. Adam Silver banned owners from even discussing this at league meetings this week. And the talking point everyone leaned on was there's no smoking gun, there's no hard evidence. But to me, at that time, the evidence couldn't be more obvious. We talked about it last week. Steve Ballmer invests $50 million into the company. That company pays Kawhi Leonard $48 million in total, 28 of it through a phony contract, the other 20 through stock. Then this morning, Pablo drops the hammer. He reveals that Ballmer owns 99% of the Clippers, and his college roommate and best friend over the last 5 decades, Dennis Wong, owns the other 1% of the Clippers. The only person in the world he was willing to give up 1% of his team to was his best friend, and his name's Dennis Wong. When Aspiration, the company who was paying Kawhi, started falling apart, they could not keep up with their quarterly payments to Kawhi Leonard. So it was that $28 million contract. We all know about it, but it was quarterly payments of $1.75 million. Bank records from December of 2022, which would be the second payment, show that Aspiration owed Kawhi Leonard $1.7 million in quarterly payments. Days later, minority owner of the Clippers and best friend of Steve Ballmer, Dennis Wong, invested $2 million into the company. Bank statements show this. 9 days after that, the amount that's almost the exact same as $2 million, $1.75 million, was wired directly into Kawhi's account. That's the smoking gun. The company was failing. They couldn't pay Kawhi despite Ballmer's huge investment. So the Clippers' minority owner, Ballmer's closest friend, swoops in with cash just to make sure Kawhi gets his money. At this point, Pablo Torre has basically done the investigation for the NBA. Joel, what is your reaction to this, and what do you think potential punishment should be?
I think this hurts the integrity of the league. Steve Ballmer is one of the most wealthy owners in the NBA, so it makes sense why everybody's jumping to defend him. Mark Cuban has been longtime friends with Steve Ballmer. Adam Silver, controlling the NBA, understands the type of revenue and the type of income and wealth that Steve Ballmer owning a team draws to the league. So I think that's why they're not trying to lay down the hammer on him. But in saying that, I think the evidence is jarring against him. I think that Steve Ballmer tried to play it off in an interview with Ramona Shelburne, and it puts journalists that work for these major networks in a compromised position because it seems like they are asking softball questions. And for Steve Ballmer to say that he got conned, I don't believe that. I don't believe somebody that has billions of dollars got conned when all of the traces in the story show that he had a major part in it. And for him to act like he's just oblivious to it and he was fooled and he just got scammed, he was an idiot. He had no idea about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not buying that story with how smart we know he is as a person. And I think Adam Silver made himself look bad multiple times when talking about the state of the league. Number one was the Kawhi Leonard story and not giving any definitive statements and being vague about it.
He said whenever it comes to potential punishment, the burden of proof is on the league. It's not on Kawhi or the Clippers.
So I think Adam Silver is hurting the integrity of the league by not laying the hammer down on this. Yet any NBA player that places a sports bet, they get suspended a year. I think that is unfair when you're not willing to try to chase down one of your owners that might be not playing by the rules. And then number two was the way that he talked about fans that don't have access to watch the games, and he called the NBA highlight league. He basically said that if you don't have the money to pay for these games and watch them, you can watch the highlights. You can go on Twitter. You can go on Instagram. You don't have to digest the full games,
Yeah.
And I felt like
Like they don't need ratings.
yes, like he let the league down in that standpoint by not trying to make games more accessible for people that want to watch basketball. There's teenagers and kids out there that they don't have the money to buy NBA League Pass. They don't have the money to do these things. And for you to not create an avenue so the younger fan can be invested into basketball even more, I think is problematic, especially when we see an NFL preseason game draw more viewership than the NBA Finals. Even with the NBA being a highlight league and as many people talking about it as they do and the viewership being up, the numbers when people are supposed to tune in to watch the games, the biggest event in the NBA doesn't even come close to the lowest level event in the NFL. And I think that is a jarring distinction So I think Adam Silver has let the NBA down multiple times over the last weekend. And I don't expect the punishment to be harsh at all because I think that they need Steve Ballmer's wealth inside the league. And that's why he is not going to get harshly punished for this.
As much as I hope you're wrong, I agree. I think one thing that is a fact, though, is this is the most damning piece of evidence up to this point that has been released. Whenever you have a bank statement showing Steve Ballmer's co owner, minority owner of the Clippers, and best friend and college roommate investing $2 million into a failing company who at the time could not even pay their own employees. One, that's not a good investment. And two, when 9 days later it's handed right to Kawhi Leonard and that says that in bank statements as well, that shores up any doubts for anyone outside the league, for anyone like us. Yes, we already did not assume, but kind of alluded to the fact that, hey, I mean, a lot of the evidence is here. This is the pen to paper of, oh shit, this actually happened. And Steve Ballmer was not the only one involved.
Exactly. And multiple parties played a role in this. And
Mm,
right now, that I mean, come on, like Kawhi Leonard gets the majority share of
yeah.
whatever gets paid out in the bankruptcy. I
Yeah.
mean, it's clear. The evidence is clear as day. And I don't think that they did a good job at covering the tracks at all. And I think this story is a big deal, not just to the NBA, but fans of the NBA, because there are some people on the opposite side of this fight that say, hey, it doesn't matter if Kawhi Leonard made more money. Why are you pocket watching? Why are you snitching? The
Yeah.
people have called Pablo Torre a snitch for revealing this information. And this is what investigative journalism is. It is to find things that are going on that are corrupt. And this is a clear example of something that is corrupt. It's not more so about caring about how much Kawhi Leonard makes or what he doesn't make. It's about there's a cap in the NBA, and if NBA teams can circumvent it by giving players money elsewhere, then there's no cap at all. Then there's no
Mhm.
restriction at all. Kawhi Leonard doesn't have an incentive to sign with the Clippers because he's not getting paid an extra $50 million
Yep.
because another team he'd rather go to will pay him a similar amount that the Clippers cannot. The Clippers can match, but they cannot, overpay for him. So I think that hurts the integrity of the league and how much people care about this story and what is being said about it consistently. I think is going to reveal a lot about where we are as a society and how much we care about a story like this.
100%. Whenever I think of Pablo Torre, it's crossed my mind that this has to be on purpose, the way he's releasing this. And I love it because, the bombshell drops last week. We all find out about it and everybody's reacting. And he lets enough time pass where number one, people come to his defense, Mark Cuban. Number two, the owners have their annual meeting. Number three, Adam Silver speaks on it and speaks on it the way he does. And then the single biggest piece of evidence that supports his findings is released after all of that happened, which basically puts clown paint on everybody who has defended him up to this point.
Yeah, it makes everybody look compromised and corrupt, and I think
That was his point.
yeah, it's not a surprise that Mark Cuban, a billionaire, is defending Steve Ballmer, a
Yeah, yeah,
billionaire.
for sure.
It's no surprise that the league is defending one of the richest and wealthiest owners. That
Mm,
is not a surprise. But clearly something corrupt is going on here, and the fact that they are not trying to hold him accountable just goes to show that everybody's compromised. And I think that's bad for the league because what it means and what it signals is that for the right price, the NBA commissioner can be compromised. If you are valuable enough, the NBA can be compromised.
yep.
And I think that is alarming.
Yeah, for sure. I think the final thing I want to say on it is the burden of proof that Adam Silver was talking about this week, with it being on the league. This piece of evidence and a fair case would have shifted that burden of proof. You have to prove that you invested. Why did you invest $2 million into a failing company? I think that is one thing that has shifted, at least outside perspective. But you're right. Everything going on internally, we don't know what's going to be investigated and what's not going to be investigated.